We'll move on to our 6.8. Consideration of direction to staff to take steps necessary to proceed with the notice of intent to file an application with Lake Local Agency Formation Commission, LAFCo, to initiate dissolution proceedings for Scotts Valley Water Conservation District. Vice Chair Rasmussen, this is sponsored by you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Supervisors. I want to start with a brief background on the Scotts Valley Water Conservation District. This was a district that was created in 1972 when property owners and or voters from approximately 100 parcels of land within the Scotts Valley area went and got a petition from the required amount of their property owners to bring that forward to the Board of Supervisors to create the Scotts Valley Water Conservation District. And again, that was for about 100 parcels, not the entire Scotts Valley, just 100 parcels within it, because at the time people could opt out. They didn't have to be involved if they didn't want to. And so it came to the Board of Supervisors, which accepted the petition and passed a resolution calling for a special election also in 1972 to answer the question as to whether or not that district should be formed. And if it was to be formed, to also then elect its first 3 directors. There's 3 board members and or directors for that district. So that question passed, the district was formed, and the first 3 directors were elected. The reasons for the original petition and why that district was created included 6 reasons. One of those, number 1, was not in any order of importance, but one was to allow them to conserve and enhance water supply and riparian rights. Another one was to monitor projects that were proposed and or approved at the time, including the Scotts Creek Dam and flash dams that were going to be installed by the city of Lakeport in that area. None of those projects ever happened due to a lawsuit on the dam, and it got ordered to be unapproved by the State Water Board after this lawsuit in Lake County Superior Court, and it never came back. Number 3 was to give the district the ability to provide a legal entity for government agencies to consult with regarding solutions for mutual water and flood control concerns in that area. Another one was basically to monitor and, if necessary, take legal action against the city of Lakeport for their drawing of water out of the Scotts Valley aquifer, which they've done for long before this. And then number 5 was to again enable the district to act in concert to solve problems of available water and distributions and or matters of flood control, including increasing water or decreasing water, increasing water in the summer when necessary for farming, and worrying about reducing flood flows in the wintertime. So basically in the last, I would probably say 20 years, really what that district had focused on was the part about monitoring the city of Lakeport. That's mainly what they've been doing. Some years ago, after this district was created, the city of Lakeport got an updated water agreement with Yolo County Flood Control that allows them to draw by right without fee 750 acre feet per year. They can go over it for another, I believe, 2,000 acre feet that they would have to start paying for per acre foot if that happened. In the last 15 years, the city of Lakeport's only gone over the 750 acre feet by right by a very small amount, and that was in 2013. So generally, they're always under the 750 acre feet for the draw. So like I said, mostly that district's been focusing on that part of it. They don't have any facilities. They don't provide any other services. They don't have any online materials. In fact, you can't find anything about this district if you were to go searching on the internet for it. When they were created, they did have an initial approval by the LAFCo for the creation, but they should have had some other municipal service review over the past 53 years. That hasn't been done. In fact, when I talked to LAFCo, they didn't even know this district existed, nor did most people in the county of Lake or out at the property owners out there. The average person, if you brought this up, wouldn't know what it is. They do hold about $25,000 in our treasury that is believed to have come from tax assessments. The initial petition and the resolution talked about the Board of Supervisors agreeing to loan $815 in startup money to that district to be repaid to the county when sufficient assessments were reached. There is a record that appears to confirm that that $815 was repaid. However, we haven't been collecting any tax assessments for who knows how long, probably decades. There are no records left in existence that even show how that assessment went or who was paying it or anything like that. So it's just, the money's been sitting there for a long time. The only activity with it that ever comes up is the interest it earns and the very small amounts that it has to pay out every 2 years or 4 years when an election comes up. These elected directors that they have to pay to our registrar of voters, which is not a significant amount because most of the time there's not an actual election on the ballot. It is an election. They have to file, but there's never more candidates than spaces, so it doesn't go on the ballot. One of the divisions, it's 3 divisions in that 100 parcels, hasn't been filled for over 10 years, going on 11. The current 2 directors that are in there, one expires in December of this year. She's not rerunning. She has told me twice, or at least once to me in writing, and I have other documents that she is not going to run for reelection, and she supports the dissolution of this district. She believes that it's accomplished its mission and it's no longer needed. The other director I've talked to verbally, and he has indicated that he doesn't oppose LAFCo taking a review of this district to see if it's providing service. I've done a lot of research on this in the past probably 4 months. We have 4 department heads here that I've talked to numerous times about it. The tax collector, the auditor, controller, who have checked for financial records, registrar of voter, who I've talked to about this because she's happened to run these elections. It's supposed to be every 4 years, but it seems to come up every 2 years because of the unfilled vacancy. And then it's also come in front of this board for appointments in the past. So I think it really needs to be reviewed by LAFCo. I don't think it's any longer serving a purpose. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's good governance to keep it going. But the process is that, we can't dissolve it. LAFCo can go through that process. It is very complex. There's conflicting information in the law. When you look at the water code, it indicates that there has to be a petition by voters in a special election. However, that has largely been overridden by the Local Government Reorganization Act of the year 2000, which also allows the government code, one of the sections of the government code, to allow for a local governing agency, including the Board of Supervisors, to petition for this by resolution of application to LAFCo without having to wait for the voters to bring you a petition and request an election to answer the question of dissolution. And I'm just about to wrap it up, but I've talked to Water Resources because a lot of these reasons that this district was created, we have our own flood control district. We have a water resources department that is largely doing a lot of those same things. In fact, we've got projects already in the works out in Scotts Valley that's being managed by our water resources regarding flood control. Not a question to answer today, but if this ultimately gets dissolved, it would come back to this board to wind up the affairs. We'd become the successor agency for the sole purpose of winding up that district. It would be at that time that we would discuss where the money goes, but the law really indicates that upon dissolution for something like this, it would need to be directed to a project that benefited that footprint where this district was created. So there's also a legal question about whether or not any of that money could be used for the county to pay for this process we're going through. I'm not proposing that be answered today. I don't know if it's legal nor if it would be the appropriate thing to do. But as far as our costs to do this, the current estimate from LAFCo is about $2,000 for the county to run through this process. It started out at a $5,000 estimate. If we do approve this and send in a resolution, we have to give LAFCO $2,000 for the application fee. But based on their research and discussions with the state, the total cost is expected to be around $2,000 for the county to ask LAFCO to run through this process. The reason for the reduced amount is because, again, if the Board of Supervisors is the one to request this, there are streamlined processes that LAFCO can go through without doing a full municipal service review. There's a modified way they can do it. If it were to be requested by the board, if it was by the public, it would have to go a different process. So with that, at this point, what's in front of you is a request to consider directing staff to move forward with the public notice process, the 21-day process, which they would start and they would send out the notice. It would come back to our board once that 21 days is up to consider on putting the resolution of application forward to LAFCo. And I can answer questions if the board has any, and likewise, I ask the department heads to be here in case questions came up for your board. So with that, I will wrap up the presentation.
All right. Any Supervisors Sabatier?
I think sending it to LAFCO is probably the best, just because it'll do a much deeper dive to figure out if the dissolution is the proper way to go. I've experienced some of those, and it's not just a simple process. You want to make sure that everything is done and completed properly. I'm going to say that I slightly disagree with one of the board members. What you stated was that their goal was done. I think it's still an ongoing goal of flood control, an ongoing goal of ensuring that Lakeport and their well and things like that are done correctly. You mentioned, I believe, in your memo about the possibility of consolidating some of those issues, or maybe you've already consolidated some of those issues into your Scotts Valley Community Advisory Council. I'm wondering if you can speak to that, because I think that would continue kind of the idea of just take out the financial aspect of it, but just still move the conversation, because that conversation still very much exists and those concerns still exist over in that area.
Yes, and if I may first clarify on, that was a statement from one of the directors who said she believed the mission was accomplished based on my belief of her focus about that one of the 6 reasons, which was monitoring the city of Lakeport. So sorry if there was confusion there, but I was trying to relay what she had stated, what her thought was. 100% agree. I have already presented this to the Scotts Valley Advisory Council, one for transparency, to let people in the area know what was going on and what my thoughts were, and also to put it in front of them to state that they were very well suited to continue to advocate and or monitor a lot of these issues that are still on the table because they are very active and they're still going on. We still have water concerns. We still have flood concerns. Happens every year. But now that this board has created the Scotts Valley Municipal Council, they are a board that's very well suited and positioned to take input from the public and also to monitor these issues. They have, I can say, you know, they were in full agreement that they want to continue to be involved and hear these things in front of them. So, and then also on the other part of it, I have arranged with the city of Lakeport to now, at least once annually, go in front of the Scotts Valley Municipal Council to give them a report on the city of Lakeport's water usage from the aquifer in Scotts Valley, and to answer any questions about what's going on with their water system. They've happily agreed to do that. They've already done their first one for 2025 back in June, so hopefully that helped answer some of those questions.
I think that's perfect. That's perfect. My only other question really doesn't matter if the LAFCo process and aims towards dissolution, because I'm just kind of curious as to how and when did we stop collecting taxes, but rather than trying to figure that out, let's see if the dissolution is the right way to go, because then that will take care of that problem.
I would love to have an answer for that question for you, and unfortunately was not able to come up with it. I do have a request into the Water Conservation District to see if by chance maybe they have something from years ago, but I also think that that's going to be, LAFCO is going to thoroughly dig into this, and maybe something will come out. But I think our department heads on the financial side can maybe offer. I don't think it's going to be an answer that's going to really give us a lot, but I would welcome that if the chairs, if the board's ready for that.
Yeah, we're ready for that. Go ahead.
Just addressing the tax. There was 1 year, it appears the first year after the resolution, there was 1 year of taxes assessed. The $815 was paid back, and then it's interest. And then, of course, the election fee is the only activity. I have a 20-year report here where that's all that's occurred.
Yeah, and Patrick Sullivan, Treasurer Tax Collector. I would just add that our system has no records going back that far. This all predates Megabyte. And so unless there were delinquencies or other enforcement going on, we don't have any knowledge of that. And as far as physical records go from that period, which is not fully known, we no longer have those either. So there really is no way to, no matter how much we invest in terms of resources, I don't know that we can go any deeper here.
Any other comments? Any on Zoom? All right, I'll bring it back to the board to close public comment. Direction?
So have we already opened to the public?
Yeah.
Okay, so then, unless our board has further questions, I'm ready to make a motion.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lloyd. Yeah.
Did you want to add something, Lloyd, or?
No, just a quick note that with the recommended action being direction of staff, it can be given by motion or consensus.
Okay. Do you have a preference, or?
It's not a public hearing, so it can be given by consensus as long as, if your board wishes to go with the recommended action as
He
it's
has it.
framed.
I seen Jessica.
I think we have consensus.
I've said yes. She said yes. Bruno's
All
nodding
right.
his head.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Susan. There you
Yes. Whose staff are we giving direction to?
go. Oh, that's right.
Well,
Curious.
Thank you.
I can try to address that. I think at this point, I think it would be direction to the CAO and any of her department who she deems appropriate to assist with the 21-day notice, as well as the follow-up with the application and resolution for a later date. Does that help, or?
All right. So with that consensus, that closes this item on the agenda. And we'll
Chair,
go.
can I
Yes,
offer
please.
something? Can we track the time spent on that so that when we end up discussing potentially in the future the $25,000 left over, that we can take a look at that?
Yes, I can track. The only, I do know that the fund is restricted, so that it may not be eligible expenses, but we can look into that. We can track them.
With that, we'll close that item.